All right, so today we're going deep, really deep into the world of Sean Diddy Combs.
Deep.
Yeah, Diddy, the hip-hop mogul, fashion icon, the entrepreneur. Seems like everything he touches turns to gold, right? But there's a lot more to this story than what you see on the surface. We're using this podcast episode. It's called Sean Diddy Combs, The Downfall of a Mogul. And it really paints a fascinating and kind of a complex picture.
It really does.
Yeah.
You see, with Diddy, success and controversy, they just go hand in hand.
Yeah, and peeling back the layers, it's really something.
It's like opening a Pandora's box.
Right. So, okay, let's rewind a little. Diddy's journey, it starts in Harlem. Pretty humble beginnings, am I right?
You got it.
But then, boom, he just explodes onto the scene, builds this billion-dollar empire.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone it's just mind-blowing.
And what's so fascinating is that he didn't just ride that wave of hip-hop's popularity. He shaped it.
Yeah.
When he founded Bad Boy Records in '93, he had this vision.
Yeah.
Not to just sign artists, to create a movement.
And man, did he ever.
Kind of dip.
Bad Boy became synonymous with, 90s hip-hop, right? Biggie, Faith Evans, Mace, their music was everywhere.
It was.
But it wasn't just, the talent. There was this distinct sound, this swagger that, a whole generation just resonated with.
Yeah, and Diddy understood the power of branding before it was, like a buzzword, right? It's like he wasn't just making music.
Right.
He was crafting a lifestyle.
Yeah, an aspirational lifestyle, for sure.
Aspirational, exactly.
And his ambition, it didn't stop there, right? Sean John Clothing, C-Rock, DeLeon, even Revolt TV. This guy was music, fashion, spirits, media. It's like, did he ever sleep?
It's really a testament to his entrepreneurial drive.
It really is.
But what I think people overlook is his business acumen.
Yeah.
He mastered the art of the deal.
Okay.
He understood leverage. He understood partnerships.
Right.
His move with C-Rock, for example, revolutionized celebrity endorsements. He didn't just put his name on it.
Right.
He became a stakeholder.
An equity partner.
Equity partner, yeah. Game changer.
Total game changer. All right. So we've got the business mogul, but then there's the philanthropist. Charter schools, social justice initiatives. It seems like he was really using his platform to give back.
Yeah, and philanthropy, it played a crucial role in crafting his public image. It solidified his status, right?
Mm-hmm.
More than just a rapper or a businessman.
Right.
He's a leader.
Yeah.
Someone who's invested in uplifting his community.
Right. But here's where things start to get interesting. Even at the height of his success, cracks start to appear in this, this carefully constructed facade.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a Greek tragedy waiting to unfold, wouldn't you say?
It is a classic rise and fall narrative.
It is.
And the seeds of controversy were already there during his ascent.
They were.
They were just overshadowed by all the glitz and glamour of success.
Okay, so let's talk about some of these early warning signs. One that really stands out is the 1999 Club New York shooting. Diddy was there with Jennifer Lopez, shots rang out. It turned into this, huge media frenzy.
It was a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
One of his artists, Shine, he ended up taking the fall, served 10 years in prison.
10 years, wow.
Even though Diddy was cleared of any charges, it tarnished his image. People started questioning, his loyalty, his judgment. It just cast this shadow of doubt on this persona he had so carefully cultivated.
It did. And then came accusations from artists like, the LOX and Maze saying they were trapped in unfair contracts, that Diddy was withholding royalties. That's not just a business dispute. That strikes at, his reputation as a champion for Black artists.
Right. And these weren't just whispers. These were public accusations, from really prominent artists.
Right.
They painted it, kind of a disturbing picture. Now, the contracts themselves, they were complex, but I can give you an example. There were clauses about publishing rights that essentially gave Diddy ownership of, their work beyond the initial recordings.
Well, wow.
That's where the real money is.
Right.
And artists felt exploited, robbed of their creative control, their future earnings.
Wow.
It was a big deal.
It really creates this disconnect, between this image of him as this, empowering figure and then the reality of these contracts.
Yeah.
What was going on behind closed doors.
And what's important to note here is that these accusations, they weren't isolated incidents.
Right.
They suggested a pattern of behavior, a tendency to, prioritize profit over the well-being of his artists.
Right.
And that really started to, chip away at that image of him as this benevolent leader.
It did.
Planted seeds of doubt.
It did. So we have this early success, but it's marred by controversy.
Mm-hmm.
But as we'll see, things take a much darker turn in the 2020s.
Yeah.
With a series of even more serious allegations. And this is where the downfall of a Mogul podcast really dives deep.
Right. And these allegations, they go beyond just business disputes.
Yeah.
They hit at the core of his character.
Oh, yeah.
They have far-reaching consequences for Diddy and his empire.
They do, for sure.
Mm.
This is where things get really heavy. And it's important to approach this next chapter with, sensitivity.
Absolutely.
So are you ready to unpack this?
Let's do it.
All right.
This is where the story takes a turn.
Yeah.
And it forces us to, really grapple with the complexities of power and accountability and the price of fame.
It really does. Yeah, so now we're entering kind of a darker chapter of Diddy's story. The 2020s, it brought just a wave of allegations, really shook the foundation of his whole empire,
I did.
This isn't about, contract disputes anymore.
Yeah.
These are accusations of, abuse, misconduct, pretty serious stuff.
Yeah, and what's really striking is that the allegations, they're hitting him, personally, challenging, his character.
Yeah.
This isn't just about, how he does business.
Right.
It's about him, his personal life, his relationships.
Yeah, and this downfall of a Mogul podcast, they really focus on one event that seems like it was a turning point. It was late 2023, a civil lawsuit filed against Diddy by a former partner.
Yeah, that lawsuit was pretty explosive.
It was.
It detailed years of alleged abuse, like physical and emotional abuse, coercion, intimidation.
Wow.
And it wasn't just, a one-time thing. It was like a pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
Pointing to this, a darker side of Diddy.
And some of the details that came out were really disturbing. Allegations of physical violence, threats with firearms, even controlling this person's movements, relationships.
It's a lot.
It really shattered that image of, the charismatic, fun-loving Diddy we all thought we knew.
It did. And what struck me was just how detailed that lawsuit was.
Right.
It wasn't just accusations. It was specific instances, dates, locations, even text messages that, backed up the claims. It was very calculated. Meticulously documented.
It's hard to imagine the courage it must have taken for this person to come forward.
I know.
Knowing how powerful Diddy is, the influence he has.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the public reaction was, immediate.
Yeah.
And intense. Social media, erupted with calls for accountability.
It was a big deal.
People were shocked, in disbelief.
Yeah.
And it sparked this, a broader conversation about power dynamics in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Our responsibility as, consumers to hold these figures accountable.
It's a big conversation.
It is. And Diddy, of course, he denied everything, right?
Yeah.
Calling the allegations baseless, part of a smear campaign.
Yeah.
But the damage was done.
It was.
And even with his denials, the allegations, they created this ripple effect across his whole empire.
Yeah, brand partnerships.
Yeah.
Which had been a cornerstone of his success.
Right.
Started to crumble.
Like Ciroc and De Leon, brands that were so closely tied to him, they started distancing themselves.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be associated with this.
They did not.
It was a clear indication of how much, the public's perception of Diddy had changed.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't just, corporate entities, even former collaborators,
right.
Bad Boy alumni started speaking out.
Yeah, some hinting at, a toxic culture within his inner circle.
And those voices, coming from people who had worked closely with Diddy, it lent credence to,
It wasn't just an isolated incident.
Right.
It suggested maybe a larger pattern.
It's like the floodgates just opened.
They did.
After that initial lawsuit, even though it was settled out of court, more allegations came out.
It was like a reckoning.
Yeah.
The facade was crumbling.
Yeah, and it raises this question of, how could someone operate with such, alleged impunity for so long?
Big question.
It's a lot to process. We have this image of Diddy, the self-made mogul, the icon of success.
Right.
And then you're confronted with these, serious, disturbing allegations.
It's a stark contrast.
Yeah.
It makes you question everything.
It really forces us to, confront some uncomfortable truths about power, fame, the responsibility that comes with it.
Right.
It makes you wonder if anyone, regardless of their status, their success, can really be held accountable?
That's a question that goes way beyond just Diddy's story.
It does.
It touches on systemic issues, power imbalances, the cult of celebrity, and the lines between, personal and professional conduct. It all gets blurry.
It does.
Yeah.
So where does this leave Diddy? I mean, how do we reconcile the image of this trailblazing entrepreneur with the weight of these accusations? Is redemption even, is it even possible?
Those are the questions we're going to explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to delve into the lasting impact of these allegations.
Right.
What this story tells us about the entertainment industry, accountability, and the complex nature of legacy.
It's tough, right? I mean, on one hand, you've got this legacy, this undeniable legacy.
Oh, yeah.
Revolutionized hip-hop, cultural icon, self-made billionaire. I mean, it's huge.
No, you have to acknowledge that those accomplishments, they're real, they're significant.
Yeah.
His impact, on music, fashion, Black entrepreneurship, it can't be erased.
But then there's, this dark cloud hanging over it all.
Yeah.
These allegations of abuse, exploitation. It's a completely different picture. It makes you wonder if, the cost of his ambition, it was paid by others.
It's a jarring juxtaposition, isn't it?
It is.
The brilliance and the darkness, all kind of intertwined.
Yeah.
And it raises these uncomfortable questions about, the price of fame, the systems that protect the powerful, and our own complicity as consumers.
Because let's be real, we all contributed to Diddy's success, right?
Did.
We bought the albums, wore the clothes, celebrated his rise. It's easy to get caught up in all that glamour, ignore the whispers of, wrongdoing.
Right, and that's how these power dynamics work.
Yeah.
They operate in the shadows, hidden behind these carefully constructed facades.
Right.
It's only when the cracks are just, impossible to ignore that we're forced to confront that truth.
So where do we go from here? Can Diddy even repair his image? Is redemption even possible?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And there's no easy answer. Some people, they might say his philanthropic work, his contributions to the Black community, that should be, weighed against his transgressions.
Right.
Others might say, you just can't separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
How can you support someone who, may have caused so much harm?
It's a really personal struggle.
It is.
And I think it speaks to a larger shift, culturally.
Yeah.
We're not just blindly accepting narratives anymore. We're demanding transparency, accountability, justice.
And that's a good thing.
It is.
This awareness, this willingness to hold these figures accountable.
Yeah.
It's crucial.
Yeah. But it also leaves us with this feeling of unease, this realization that the people we admire, the role models, they're flawed, complex individuals, capable of great things, but also terrible things.
It's a reminder that there's always more to this story than what we see on the surface.
Right.
It challenges us to think critically, question our assumptions,
Yeah.
be more discerning in who we support.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, into Diddy's world, I'm left with this question. What does true accountability actually look like?
Yeah.
Is it apologies? Is it legal consequences? Or is it a fundamental change in behavior?
I think it requires all of the above, honestly.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the harm, taking responsibility, actively working to repair the damage.
Right.
And it's about systemic change.
Yes.
Empowering victims, amplifying those marginalized voices, creating a culture of, transparency and respect.
Well said. And on that note, I guess we'll leave you with this final thought. As you move forward, just consider the power dynamics, in your own life. How can you contribute to a culture of accountability, empathy, respect? How can you use your voice to amplify the voices of those who've been silenced?
These are questions worth thinking about.
They are.
But because ultimately, Diddy's story, it's not just about him, right?
Right.
It's a reflection of our values, our obsessions, our responsibility to, create a better world.
A more just world. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until the next time, keep learning, keep questioning, keep the conversation going.